Welcome to this week's Penny Lane podcast, where the whole gang is back together in separate locations, and we discuss a few great topics. We talk about fundamental and technical analysis of stocks.
We talked about a new book I'm reading called Atomic Habits.
Then we had an interview with Fathor, insert Star Wars joke here, talking about his trading history and where he is today and where he's going.
I think there's a lot we can all learn about DD and compounding gains. So listen up. Hey guys.
Hey, Blaine.
Hey.
Well, hello, Blaine.
Well, we've just come off a weekend. I feel like every Sunday we've come off a weekend of seeing each other. But once again, it's a Sunday where we've seen each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Anyone
crazy.
want to explain? Kate's dead.
It's a rough Sunday for some of us, guys.
It's dead.
I'll throw it out there.
Let's hear it.
I'm going to struggle
It's-
my way through this.
Some way we have found a way to see each other every week for the past like six weeks.
Sure.
It makes no sense. This week we had a party to celebrate the 18-month engagement of Kate and I.
The never-ending
You're welcome.
engagement.
As one
It's
typically does to mark the 1.5 year anniversary of being.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mhm. You
It's a
throw a
big
party
mile
when you
marker.
first are engaged. You throw a party 18 months later.
Yeah.
Correct.
Have to.
I think
With
it's
the hopes
I
of-
think it's the silver.
So we had a party in Charlotte for Kate and I. Lots of in-town friends, out-of-town family and friends. And COVID's over because we ended up hitting the bars until 2 a.m.
The plural.
And those bars were packed.
Mhm.
And what do you do in packed bars? You take shots. And then when you're done taking shots, you dance on the bars.
Sure.
And then at 2 a.m., it's time to go home.
Or
For the
eat.
record, Justin was not the one dancing on the bar. Although I wish he was.
Also,
It's been a
for the
long time since
record-
I've seen anyone dance in a bar anywhere, so I'm kind of jelly.
Also, for the
I
record,
literally
I
just can't
was
stay up that late.
not at the bar, nor was I dancing on the bar, but wouldn't
True.
put it past me.
True.
You were missed. But also
Well-
probably feel a lot better today than the rest of us.
I'm
So
feeling
good for
good.
Charlotte.
I'm feeling good.
If I can just inquire a little more deeply, just from a COVID recovery standpoint, are the bars kind of, are they asking any questions? Or it's like the good old days, just check your ID, in you go, do whatever you want? Like, is there
Yeah,
any
it-
kind of like,
Less so.
are there signs that say, hey, if you're unvaccinated, could you wear a mask or anything of that sort? Did you notice anything?
I'm going to be honest. I was not paying attention to those details last night.
Okay.
So even less than that. They want the business so bad. We had some folks that were with us, and the bouncer said, "Can I see your ID?" And one of them said, "Nope, left it at home." And he said, "Come on in."
Love it.
When Jimmy and I
Yeah.
first got our vaccines, at a very inopportune time, he decided to take both the vaccine records to a professional laminating place to get them laminated, just because I think he thought if we wanted to go into a bar or something, we'd have to show them. Turns out, nobody cares. It's just a piece of paper taking up room in my purse, professionally laminated.
Excuse me, sir. You forgot to ask for my vaccine card.
All right, guys, we have a little education section for you. Now, I know this stuff can be a little dry, maybe a little boring. We're going to try to put some humor in it, make it fun, but I do think this is something that everybody should know. This came directly from a article published by the Morning Brew this week. And, Justin and I are big fans. We think they do great work. So we are going to go through what is stock analysis, which I think is maybe obvious to a lot of you, but also some of you, when we say do your own DD, maybe don't know what we're talking about. So a couple of steps to analyze a stock and whether you want to purchase it or not. So the first thing you need to know is there's two types of analysis. One is fundamental, one is technical. Fundamental means you believe in the company, the story, and their long-term future innovations, things of that nature. Technical means you look at the chart, you say, yep, I'm in. Can you make money on a quick trade? You don't care anything about the stock. Justin, can you go further into that? I know you know a lot about technical versus fundamental analysis.
I think that sounded like heavy sarcasm. Thank you. Well, let me ask this question. Kate, you bought LTNC. Do you think you use fundamental analysis, technical analysis, or really neither?
I don't think I used any analysis on that, if I'm being honest.
So as a long-term investor, Kate, do you think that's what you are in LTNC?
I mean, yeah, I'm going to see if I can ever make my $7 back from E-Trade. So yeah, I'm in it for the long haul.
Got it. Well, then you would be very, you should be really interested in the fundamental side of their business.
Okay.
That's how I address that. You would be interested in, are they going to be able to fill their orders of the double oxygenated water? Are they going to have enough cans? And will Take Over Joe ever find Bigfoot, which could be commercially monetized into
that is
big
a big
business? One. That would be the fundamental side that you would want to track and follow.
All right, I'm taking notes. Blaine? I'm writing this down.
Totally. So every quarter, a company puts out earnings. And as you know from earlier episodes, stocks trade at a higher volume before earnings. And that it can be on the long or short side. If investors think they're going to beat earnings, they might be going long. If they think they're going to miss earnings, they might be going short. But the volume increases. So once they report their earnings, I don't know a ton about this, but according to the article, the earnings come out and you can search for a company's financials and earnings through the SEC EDGAR. Have you done that before, Justin?
There's, I think, a few various places you can find that information.
Okay. Well, this article says the EDGAR. I'll provide a link in the show notes. So you can look there to see the actual numbers. You can also use Yahoo Finance to take a look at what other investors think about the company and their finances. Also, you can look at Twitter, which I know a lot of people do, to just see sort of what the feeling is about the company. And here are a couple of things that you might want to look at. And I'm going to put all these on the show notes just so you can see how to do the math and calculate all of these things. But
math.
The first ratio you want to look at is a company's current assets, excluding inventory, divided by their current liabilities. And you want that, it's called a quick ratio. You want that quick ratio to be higher than 1 if you're going to invest in the company. You want to look at their net profit margin, which is net income divided by revenue, how much money a company actually earns for every dollar in sales. And you want to see this number growing quarter over quarter. You want to look at ROA, return on assets, which is the net income divided by the total assets. It's a sign of efficiency and how much the company is earning relative to its resources. And then what I'm going to say now, these are valuation ratings. So,
hold on one second.
Go on.
You ever thought about applying that to your own personal finance?
No.
Think about how hard it is to run a profitable company. If you were to if Kate and I were to take our net income divided by our household revenue, just to make sure that how much we're actually earning for every dollar that we like brought in from our jobs or whatever you want to call it.
Or
and then quarter over
your
quarter.
investment in Nook.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or if you were to take like all of our assets, if they were liquid, and then like exclude like the couches and the food in the pantry, and then divide that by our debt, is that higher than 1? I don't know if I really want to do that calculation.
That makes my head hurt.
Jimmy and I don't run a tight household budget, so we're not doing a lot of math. All right. Valuation ratings, earnings per share, EPS, earnings divided by the weighted average number of shares outstanding. The stock with the highest EPS theoretically offers the highest value. Next, price to earnings ratio, PE, share price divided by annual earnings per share. And then price to sales ratio, PSR, market capitalization divided by annual sales. This is a good ratio for growth stocks or businesses that haven't yet turned a profit. Okay.
Facts.
So you can look at all those factors to decide if you want to invest in a company. You can look at a few factors. You could do all the math, but you just sort of need to choose what you want to pay attention to. Now, obviously, this is all for fundamental analysis, not technical. It doesn't apply to the chart. So after you do the math in that, you need to do your own DD, which is obviously a hot phrase in trading circles. Justin, what do you think doing your own DD means?
Literally anything outside of copying someone else's play.
Okay.
If you just look
I think
anywhere
that's a
for information,
great definition. I like that a lot. I like. There's no need to further substantiate that. Like that's a wonderful thesis for what DD should be.
Yeah,
I agree. I absolutely agree.
And such a comfortably low bar, right? For like, I did the DD, right?
That's right. Yeah, I don't know. Blaine, is it still in your top 10 of most hated phrases? Is it top 5?
It's very annoying to me, especially with penny stocks when I know that 90% of penny stocks are crap companies. So like, do your own DD. It's like, well, it's crap. But you can say basically anything is crap and be 90%, you have a 90% chance of being right. So if you're doing like deep technical analysis on sundial growers, for example, which is having a week, like, I don't know what you're going to find. And does it even matter? Also, I think I'm a technical trader because I don't, other than like CCL, which is not even a small cap or a penny stock, that's a legit company. And therefore, I can be like more fundamental about it. And I believe in the reopening play and all of that. But if I'm going to trade a penny stock, I'm looking at the chart.
Yeah. Well, real quick on that, because if you really want to play the reopening stock and you look at the fundamentals of all of the companies in that basket of companies, you just have to pick whichever one is the least worst turd. Like if they're all really bad companies, you just got to find the one that's the best of the worst. Like, I'll probably get in trouble, but like, who's the tallest midget? Just go with that one.
I'm not sure that's politically correct, but
Joel can bleep that
me
out.
either.
All right.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Just to finish up this section on doing your own DD, here are a couple things you can look at. So there's this idea that the future value of a company is built into today's stock price. So it's not like you can really beat the market by looking at, it's just off the top of my head, like Nike is coming out with a shoe that can fly or whatever. Like, if that is true,
Some Marty McFly's.
That's sort of like known by investors, so it should already be calculated in the stock. But I think people try to beat the market by trying to imagine what a company will do next and then invest for that next thing.
I think it's like the first fundamental rule of the stock market is that the market itself knows everything. Like it has every bit of information available to the public is accounted for. Like we don't know everything. The market does. That's the way you're supposed to operate. I don't really know what that saying is. There's like a great colloquialism for it somewhere, but it's all the information available is there. Like we don't have it, but the market does. So you're never, I don't know, you're never going to be smarter than all the information that's already out there.
Right.
That's a really interesting concept. I mean, does that, like Wall Street gets all mad when you have meme stocks, right? And things of that nature, when it's like the market should know better than this thing that is happening.
Right.
Right. So aren't there cases where that's not the case, and that the driving force within the market is not rational? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think in general, that's a great statement. And it's always, isn't it the same kind of as like applied to sports or anything else where it's like Vegas always knows?
Yeah.
Right?
Same thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that happened very much with the last election between Trump and Biden. Like everybody was watching stocks during the end of the election when everyone had voted, but we were waiting to see who the president was going to be. And it was going to be like the market would maybe go up if Trump won or down if Biden won or whatever. And the market was virtually unchanged when the winner was announced. And I think that's such a good example of like the market knew, or it was like priced in ahead of time.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great point. I really like that Jimmy brought up the gambling point. It's like, how does Vegas always know within a point? It makes no sense. Like every bit of information.
How do they?
Can you pull some Twitter weight, like throw that around to find somebody who works for a bookmaker?
I have 500 Twitter followers. That's nothing.
Whatever. That's enough. I would love if you could. I bet they can't say anything. They probably can't do it. You need like, I don't know, somebody who's been fired. How do you find that person?
Someone who got kicked out of Vegas?
Yes.
Okay.
I need to understand how they are always within a point. But it's just like legitimately the same concept, right? Like they have every piece of information under the sun available to their fingertips to then make the market for sports betting. The stock market's not the same. It's the invisible hand. Like they don't, like it's not like someone has all the information and is like, what is it? Like omni knowledgeable or whatever, and then can just set the price. It just means that the market itself has all of the information out there that's available. But same concept. I would love someone from Vegas to explain that to us.
I would also love that. If the market knows everything, I think it's probably hard to find an edge in the market by doing your own DD. Like there's nothing available on the internet that's not priced in. Therefore, I think technical analysis is probably easier. So learning chart patterns, there's a big thing. Happy Gilmore says charts never lie. And it might be easier if you're just starting trading to learn those chart patterns instead of trying to discover some magical piece of information that's not insider trading.
So chart don't lie should certainly be a meme. We need to get in the meme game. So that's our first one.
We're getting in the merch game, Justin. You've seen the merch.
Yeah.
We're getting in the merch game.
Chart don't lie. But before I forget, I feel like that's for two separate things, Blaine. Like the fundamental analysis is to make sure that you are investing in a safe company that's going to grow long term. But the key word there is investing, right? Like you are parking money, hoping for it to grow with a company that can return shareholder value and therefore dollars to your pocket. Technically, on the charting side, like you're doing that for trading. Like it would be nice if you could fall back on a great fundamentally sound, firm or corporation or partnership,
right?
or
like
whatever
Nokia.
it is.
right?
Yeah,
Like you went in for a trade and you've fallen back on a little fundamental analysis.
Wow.
I know you're being sarcastic, but you know what? Mic drop, it worked. We do have a solid fundamental company in Nokia. So all jokes
to the
aside,
moon, if you will.
Yep. That happened. Yeah. Again, long-term investor. Who wouldn't want to invest in the future of 5G? Joke's on you guys.
Last week was Memorial Day, and I know that it was only a 4-day week, but it was my first ever green week. Meaning I was green every single day, all 4 days last week. I think it was a breakthrough.
So what do you do with that momentum? Are you looking for a whole nother green week, or are you still on the 1% challenge where you could have a 2% day and then, a flat day or a down day? What's the expectations into next week with 5 full days of trading?
So I think the 1% challenge,
cool.
Callum's 1% challenge, you can go back in the episode list and find that episode and listen to him explain it. But basically the challenge is you just compound 1% of your account every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always known what compounding meant theoretically, but this challenge is the first time where I'm like, oh, like I can see what this does for money. And maybe that makes me an idiot, but so this is the first time in my life I've ever seen sort of the power of that. And when we were on Benzinga last week, we calculated what 1% a day will do over a year, what it'll do over 2 years, what it'll do over 3 years. And it was very impressive. Justin, I was impressed. Were you?
Yeah. Do you think that now makes you an investor instead of a trader? Because that is the crux of investing, is that you want your money to compound.
No, I don't. I think it makes me a trader. But here is what the 1% a day challenge did for me. So before this, I thought the goal of every stop day was to make as much money as possible.
And you're telling me it's not?
Well, usually that resulted in me having like 3 green trades, 1 red trade, and then a green trade that maybe got me back to even, or I was still red. But I was like, at 9:30 you begin trading, at 4 o'clock you stop trading, and the end of the day is the sum of those trades. Okay. And that didn't work at all for me. So the real magic I found this week was when I hit my 1%, I quit. I walked away. I was like, goal reached. And it was really life-changing. At Friday, I hit 2%. I wasn't like going for 2%, but I hit 2% by 11:30 and thought, oh, I have the rest of the day off, which never happens to me. I'm like opening bell to closing bell. I'm in there fighting. And I also put a lot of pressure on myself. So there's a spreadsheet that's shared by everyone in the challenge. And I get a little sense of accomplishment by putting in oh, I got my 1%. So tracking, and everyone can see that I got my 1%. So I had maybe $1,000 left in my account at the end of the day Friday. But I was like, well, I don't want to trade with that $1,000 and lose my 1%. So you know what I mean? Yep. I don't want to go for 4% when I've got the 2% already. So I'm just going to walk away. And it has been an incredible sense of freedom. I think that that's something that gamblers really struggle with, is walking away when you're up. Justin, you're a gambler.
There's one problem gamblers don't have.
Tell me.
That's walking away when you're down.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Because generally you don't have a choice. You're out of money.
Well, sure. I mean, there's so many parallels there to the stock market of stop losses but again, you employ you don't have a choice. You're not cutting Nokia. right? You're writing it out. You don't have a choice, but like you do. You could
You do.
sell.
That's right.
But
That's
okay.
true. I'm very curious as to if do you think you'll be able to stick with that? Because what if I don't know if one of your rules is that you don't trade between 9:30 and 10 like a lot of people do, just because you have no idea what that actually means for the rest of the day. But let's say that you do trade at 9:30, you could be done trading by 9:45. I feel like then that causes you to miss the rest of the day, not just from an enjoyment standpoint, but from got to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the market. Like you could actually just shut down, and that's not advantageous in some regard. And then also, you suffer from FOMO. Let's be clear about that. But this would be a different kind of FOMO. Like everyone else is trading. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, I hear you. It's sort of like I really like getting accolades or like people saying good job or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And my desire to end the day green and be able to track on the chart that I hit the goal and have people be like, yay, is actually a stronger desire to me than to
the 1%?
Keep trading.
Yeah.
I don't like to let people down either.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So you'd rather protect the ability to receive the accolade rather than be in the mix all day.
Well, I'm watching.
True.
Yeah.
But you're not.
Actually, is that a gross thing that I just admitted publicly that I like people being like, oh, good job? Is that.
You're a pat on the butt girl?
Yeah, just good job. Way to
go.
Game.
Good game. Good game.
Maybe that is kind of gross. It came to light because I've been reading this new book that I wanted to talk about. The book is called Atomic Habits, but it's about finding your real motivation. And I'm motivated by people being like, yay, you hit your goal. So
got it.
Yeah.
Okay. What about money?
Well, I have never really changed my story on like winning the game is more important to me than money. And I've said that the whole podcast.
Very true.
So, yeah, I'm not super, super motivated by money.
Fair.
I'm motivated by getting better, by, impressing myself kind of like, oh, I've certainly gotten better week over week. I'm motivated by winning, but the actual dollars and cents are a little bit less motivating to me.
So is this book taught you after you have to think about what your motivation is? Is this book taught you anything that you're going to now employ Monday through Friday between the hours of 9:30 and 4?
I actually really recommend the book to anybody. I am reading it for business and not necessarily for trading, but it was so applicable to my trading journey. One thing I really loved is a story about the French bicycling team, and they won a gold medal. And the way they did that was by reverse engineering their process and improving every single thing a tiny percentage. So they got like more comfortable seats. They got pants that were self-warming to keep the muscles warm. They brought in a surgeon to teach the riders how to wash their hands so they didn't get sick. So they didn't make like one big thing, but in 4 years, they made all these tiny little changes. And then the next year, they won the gold medal. And I really love that as a breakdown for life of like, oh, I don't need to make $1 million today. But if I make $20 today, $25 tomorrow, $50 the following day, then like maybe I could make $1 million. And I never really thought of it until I read this book. So I love that. Also, we talk a lot about the trading graph, which maps out a trader's career. And you've heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it one more time. The way it starts is a trader begins trading, they have beginner luck, and the arc goes up. And then they have one big loss that shakes their confidence, and then they're going down. And then that loss results in more and more losses. And so you go down to kind of a bottom. And then you read every trading book, you listen to every trading podcast, you exhaust the search for gurus who you can follow. Like, you are just learning and learning and learning and trying to find an edge or trying to do something. And then one day you decide, like, I'm going to employ this one strategy. Mm-hmm. And that strategy is successful. And then you become kind of like a robot. And it's just employing, it's not like sexy, it's not fun, it's not that you've discovered something great. It's just that you very successfully employ that one strategy over and over and over, which then builds your confidence. And then you can play with larger size. And once the arc of your career starts going back up, it's like an explosive line that then the amount you can earn is you can't even imagine, because you've like been through the valley of learning and you start being very strict about your trading. When I was reading the book, it talked a lot about putting systems in place and processes. And we learned so much about that with singles and doubles. And I've seen that so much from my friends on Twitter that they have a list of 5 or 10 rules. And if they don't break the rules, the system works and the profits come. One quote I really liked was Bill Walsh, who's won 3 Super Bowls, said, the score takes care of itself if he plays the game that he's laid out. So like if he makes the most tackles or runs the most yards or what, if he puts his process in place and sticks to it, then the results come. And then the last thing I wanted to say about that is they talked about putting an ice cube in a room that's 27 degrees and heating the room up 1 degree at a time. So, 27, 28, 29, and then a lot of people will put in all that work and then quit when it's 31 degrees, right? And then as soon as it hits 32 degrees, the ice starts to melt and all the process happens right at once. So all that work was put in and you don't see any progress, from years and years of following the plan, implementing the plan, doing the habits. And then all of a sudden there's a breakthrough and it's like the ice melts immediately or there's an amazing amount of growth. So I will put a link to the book in the show notes. And I do think it was very motivating. I learned a ton from it and it's very applicable to trading.
I feel like I have homework now.
Yeah.
The Penny Lane podcasts are big trade journalers. We use TraderSync. Both Blaine and I are recently big journalers trying to determine why we're so good, mostly bad at trading. TraderSync offers the best platform to do this. Use the code PennyLane to get 15% off a monthly subscription and 55% off an annual.
Hi, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Can you tell us how to say your name, please?
Fathor. So the emphasis on the Thor part, yes.
Oh, perfect. All right, Fathor, thank you so much for joining us. Could you tell us a little bit about your trading journey, trading career, how you got into it?
Sure. So I started investing in stocks in March of 2009, the actual week of the lowest point of stocks in the Great Recession, right? So early March 2009. Basically, I was watching CNBC and I heard Mark Haynes, who's passed away now, call the bottom on the stock market, and I opened up a $500 Scottrade account, and I started investing in what was at the time some normal stocks, but had been so beaten down. I was buying stocks on the dollar, even less. I bought one stock for 75 cents. and, they were just taking off. It was just a free for all down, and then, a climb back up. So
this will be a very short interview. So essentially, you held those stocks $500, and 12 years later, it's worth $500,000, and you're retired. The end.
Done. No, so yeah. During 2009, I put the $500 in it, and of course, back then it wasn't free trading. It was $7.95 a trade, right, one way, right, in and out. So it was $14 round trip or whatever it was. I can't even remember now. And so right. You did still have to be, quite cautious with with what you were investing in, because, that $14, even if you're investing $1,000, that $14 is 1.4%, right? Mm-hmm. So, that 1.5% is a chunk to take out. So, but yeah, I mean, at that point I was investing in some stocks, and they were doing really well. And I Forexed my account, which I've only done twice since then. So I did it in 2009, and I did it just last year in 2020.
Nice.
So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So, 2009, I went from 500 to 2000, and I was like, woo, this is all I need. I'm on, we're going straight to the hemisphere or ionosphere. Maybe not the moon, but we're going to get close, damn it.
Yeah.
And then last year, of course, was, it was 2020. So it was an epic year. So, and I Forex my account there. But so just to put it into perspective, I took my $500, I Forexed it, I got to $2,000. And that $2,000 has been basically my baseline every single year. So what I do every year is I start out with $2,000, mm-hmm. and I trade, and whatever profits I make, I take out at the end of the year, mm-hmm. and I give it to my wife, and we normally do like a home project or something like that to that extent. And then when we do our taxes, she wonders why, our tax return went from like $1,000 or whatever it was down to zero. And then I get yelled at for profiting in the stock market. Yeah. So yeah. But last year, of course, was different, where once again, I Forexed my account. And so I was up around 8,500. I started out with 2,000. I went to about 8,500. It really was. It was nice. I took the 6,500 out. We put a new garage, or not a new garage. We put a new driveway in front of our garage with the money, and I'm starting out again. January 1st, I'm back to 2,000, and here I go. So 6
months in, where are you sitting? Up, down, even?
All right. So this is a great one. So 6 months in, at this point, we started the year really strong, right? January and February, doing my normal swing trading thing, because I am a swing trader. I'm not a day trader, not yet anyway. So January and February were really good. On my way to doubling that account, right? And then I decided, you know what? Things are so hot. I'm gonna try a little day trading. And I got I'm a baby. So I started trading small caps in day trade form a little bit, and it's been a learning experience. Sure. So it was great actually to hear your podcast the other week. Dark Elvis was on, and believe it or not, I was never involved in any Discords or anything. I've been trading basically on my own until this year, and where I joined a Discord channel, and Dark Elvis was the first person I ever contacted ever. And he, I asked him for a scan, and he created a little scan for me. I don't want to drop his name out there, so there's a million people asking for scans, but he is a super awesome guy. Really cool. It was awesome to hear his interview. He's so knowledgeable and so cool. And I loved hearing his interview. It was my favorite interview ever to hear him. So inspiring.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah, that was a killer interview.
That's nothing to do with you, Blaine. That has everything to do with Dark Elvis.
That's right.
I literally asked Dark Elvis to be on the podcast, so it's a little bit to do with me.
Fair.
And, we invited him on because of the support from his girlfriend. That was really the key.
Right.
And when you and I started talking, I loved that your money goes to help your house and your wife uses it. Like, we're so into family support here on the Penny Lane Pod. So that was also a hook for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So granted, it's been just a hobby of mine, right, for the last decade or so, doing this. And then, I put it back into my house, which I'm just a normal guy. I'm not I have a day job and this is just what I do. And then I put the money back into my house, put it back into escrow. I think we did the driveway. We've done HVAC at one point, redid a bathroom. Nice. So it's all just,
HVAC. That's like $8,000 hit.
It's
not like cool at all. You're never going to see it. You're not buying a new sofa, a new chandelier. It is the HVAC system, and it is so expensive. So congratulations.
Right.
We need an HVAC system, and I'm like, well, just clean it one more time.
Exactly. Yeah, change the filter, hire the guy to come out and switch it out. But yeah, that was
just put a little more coolant in there. We can keep it going.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Trust me, we did that for years, and then finally, because of the trading and stuff, we got a little discount, so we pulled the trigger on that. Right. So it didn't take care of it, but it was a helper, and that's all that we need in life, right? We just need a little help.
Absolutely.
Just give me a little discount, and I'm willing to pull the trigger on something big. And invest.
Others need more help than others.
All that money that you're putting into your house, like that's an investment as well. When you sell it, you should get a return on that investment. So you're compounding gains, which is the subject of this podcast. So good for you.
Nice. Wow. Compounding gains. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Benjamin Graham, the value investor over here.
There you go. That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. Hold on. I got the book right here. Oh my gosh. Sitting right next to me.
Oh my goodness.
Where's mine? Mine looks a lot less red than yours.
When you have the original, it was like Sanskrit, Dead Sea Scrolls. You're about to break that thing out.
Touched. Yeah. I also have the margin of safety somewhere in here as well. That one doesn't get touched very often.
Oh my gosh.
Also stolen, but I mean.
Whoa, you can't publicly say that.
Another story for another time.
Oh my gosh.
Now, are you hanging out in the Mullins Trading Academy room, or are you still sort of?
So I found MTA, and I found home, right? So
Aww.
Yeah. So I recently found MTA, and I've watched the I don't know if I'm going to mess up their names, like Gixer Stunton and Broda.
Well, they're pronouncing your name wrong anyway, so don't feel bad about it.
Nice. Yeah. And so I've watched them, and I was like, okay, they're teaching the things that I had to learn on my own and took me 5-6 years to learn. Right?
Yeah.
It took me, and maybe I just don't know how to Google search. I'm not sure, but it took me years to learn what they're teaching people in 30 minutes or an hour. And it's just blowing me away. And the moment that I was listening to them, I'm like, okay, this is my crew. This is where I need to be.
I'm so glad.
This is it. Yeah. I've been other places and they're great, but no, the moment that I stepped in here, I was like, okay, now I know.
Yeah. I'm really more proud of sort of the work that Mullins Trading Academy is doing. And I mean, I'm a admin there, so I've done some nice work there, I think, too. And just like shaping that community, I'm prouder of than anything in my trading. Like I really, really love it.
You should be. Yeah. Because it's a really nice place.
How do most people find it? I mean, so I found it because of Blaine, obviously. that one was easy. Are people finding it via other Discords, Twitters, dare I say, podcasts? Where are people finding them?
I do think people find it from our podcast, which I love, and then also just on Twitter.
Yep, I did find it on Twitter, which is then where I found the podcast, and then things have rolled from here. Here's where I am. I'm on a podcast now.
I'm so excited for Mullins Trading Academy to grow and sort of what we can become. And every week, more experts find us. So just like the things we can handle or discuss, or like, I feel like we have the market sort of covered as far as experts and teaching. And I think it will just be like gasoline on a flame from here. I'm so excited.
I know. I feel like I found some magic at the ground floor. You know, I feel like I found a stock at the bottom and it's about to move.
You found a bottomed out stock.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to swing trade it.
I am.
Well, are you actually going to start day trading now because you found MTA?
No. So when I said actually that, yeah, good question. So that when I say like I found home, right? So I had indicated that I had started day trading and it's been a struggle, right? So I started day trading, believe it or not, in like March to April and May of this year, like this really hard little jaunt.
The worst time
right?
ever to day trade.
Of this year. And I'm just grinding through this. And it's just been
better.
and it's just been this slow bleed of my account since March. And I'm just like, oh wow, this is, you know, I'm losing. It's hard, you know, everybody's like green, you know, yay, boom. And I'm like, ugh, it's not happening. Why? You know?
Yeah.
And so, but I'm by nature a swing trader, and that's where I kind of shine. And some of the rooms that I've found here, they emphasize, you know, the swing rooms, right, are really, really popular for people like me because I do have a day job. So I do plan to retire. My goal is to retire in the next 10 years. And in my retirement, which I will not be 65, right, I plan to trade full time to supplement that salary that I make right now. Mm-hmm. And so I basically have 10 years to learn and perfect that day trading craft, or I might just continue swing trading because honestly, if things go well, I'll just continue to swing trade. That's all I'll need to do. I won't need to sit in front of a monitor, you know, for 8 hours a day. I can swing trade and be just as successful doing that. I truly believe that.
So just to harken back a little bit to the beginning of this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Do you do more fundamental or technical analysis when you're swing trading? Okay,
so things are starting to get more technical now, but for years they were based on me going out there, finding stocks that were trading in trend lines or moving in patterns, and then me going in looking at balance sheets and income statements and literally diving into the fundamentals of the stock. So they're not easy for me to find all the time, and they never were. But, you know, I didn't teach myself. I work in finance, but I would literally go in and read the financials, you know, and find companies that were trading at low, you know, price to book or, you know, even price to earning, which don't get me wrong. I mean, price to earning can be deceptive depending on how much they're capitalizing, but in a company, but you can find them out there if you really look for their cash. And cash on hand is super important, especially for small companies, right? So if inflation comes, which is something that's scary for everybody, right? If inflation comes hot and heavy, like they're predicting it might, the small cap companies that have large cash on hand are the ones that are going to be able to survive that environment. And so if you can find those companies that are small cap with high cash on hand, those are going to be the ones to shine. Anyway, there's my theory for the next 5 years. Right.
Well, we needed you on earlier because when I was breaking that down, it wasn't nearly as easy to understand.
Right. Yeah. So just the theory, the bottom line, the theory, I guess, from some people that I talk to as well is just that finance people that I talk to is that it's important for small cap companies to have large amounts of cash on hand to survive high inflation environments.
Ooh, I have a question. What if they get that cash by doing offerings?
Right.
I feel like that was a bombshell of a question. You just threw a grenade into a snake pit.
Yeah. So, right. I mean,
it just
offerings
came to me. Just a simple question.
Right off the top of the dome.
Right. So companies can get a couple of different ways that companies can get money, right? Is to fall into debt or do offerings, which, you know, in the small cap world, nobody really likes, right? So, and you don't see that in large caps, right? You don't see a lot of offerings like they do here, where stocks are, especially over the last couple of months, where they're pumped up and then all of a sudden they do an offering and drop. That's something that honestly I can't answer that question because that's a new occurrence that I haven't seen before. Because I'm so new to small cap trading, right? So I'm sorry, I can't answer that for you. I wish I could, but.
Well, if anyone's listening to the podcast and has an opinion, please hit us up on Twitter. I'd love to talk to you about that.
That was a loaded question. I actually know the answer.
Oh, go.
Go,
Justin.
tell
Go.
me.
I don't know the answer.
Justin, you don't know anything.
Man, I was hoping you were
going to
say yes.
on the moon, right?
Question for you. So are
Yes, sir.
you trading stocks, options, combination? Are you taking any short positions perhaps in these swing trades? Are you just a long trader?
I am mostly a stock trader who rarely shorts, and I will trade options, but I'm not a strong option trader, so I do tend to stay away. I dabble a little bit, but it's a world that is high risk for me, and I'm not a high risk trader.
Cool.
I'm a low risk, low reward. Actually, I find myself to be a high reward, but a low risk trader who, I just steady gains is what I'm all about. Steady gains. My account, if I get over 1% in one day on my account, I'm like, that's a win. That's a victory for me.
Perfect. Ding, ding, ding.
Hit a plane.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this entire thing, as I said, it's about compounding gains. So
Yeah.
I love what you said. Now, one final question before we let you go. What is the biggest lesson you have learned in your trading career?
Well, I don't want him to go.
We have to wrap this episode up.
All right, fine.
Oh my gosh. The biggest, that's such a hard question, right?
Yeah, I'm throwing lobs at you tonight.
That's all right. That's all right. You know what? The biggest thing that I've learned is that I can do this. I can slowly build a tiny account and I can double it, right? Every year. I've done it for the last almost 10 years. At least 7 out of the last 10 years, I've more than doubled my account. And I can do this with time and effort and energy. You don't need to hit the home runs. It's all about just the small gains, those little base hits over and over and over again. You can do these amazing things with your account that nobody ever talks about you being able to do. So that's what I've learned.
Oh, I love it. Did you listen to our singles and doubles episode by any chance?
No, I'm going through all of your podcasts loud. Like I said, go ahead.
Wow.
Yeah.
You need to do that. As soon as we get off here, you need to cue that up. You're going to love it.
Okay.
You're also going to recognize a saying.
Oh, okay.
Don't need to hit the home runs.
Oh, don't need
That's his Twitter handle. That's why it's called singles and doubles. It's about hitting singles and doubles. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
You still have to listen to the podcast though.
I do.
That wasn't the whole thing. Yeah.
And I will. I just got done driving and I was like listening to another one of your podcasts in the car. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for coming on. I love everything you said. I think it's all great lessons and I hope you'll come back.
I will. I hope you'll have me back. Thank you, you guys.
Justin and I have a show on Benzinga every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Please tune in and join Benzinga for 2 weeks free and use the code PLPOD for 25% off.
What's that code?
PLPOD.
Got it. Thanks for listening to the Penny Lane Pod. If you enjoyed this show, please rate it, only 5 stars, subscribe to it, leave us a comment, and only write nice things about us because we have feelings. Thanks.
Thank you to our producer, Joel Edwards, for producing an amazing podcast, and to Chesley Lowe for writing our banjo music, which totally makes the pod. See you next week.
Bye.
By accessing this podcast, you acknowledge that the Penny Lane Podcast makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional or financial advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, the Penny Lane Podcast does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast. And information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. The third-party materials or content of any third-party site referenced in this podcast do not necessarily refer reflect the opinions, standards, or policies of the Penny Lane Podcast. The Penny Lane Podcast assumes no responsibility or liability for the accuracy or completeness of the content contained in third-party materials or on third-party sites referenced in this podcast, or the compliance with applicable laws of such materials and/or links referenced herein.
Thank you guys so much for all your support. We'll talk to you soon.